So hi, Jules. Thanks for joining us today with Live Brighter with Tara. How are you?
I am so happy to be here. So excited to see you and so excited to be here. I've never been on a podcast before.
You have your own podcast,
Besides
and we'll
my
be
own, I
talking
guess.
about that. So that'll be fabulous. Okay, well, let's start with, this is all about living brighter after domestic abuse, emotional destructiveness, and really just living brighter. And a lot of that comes from like just healing ourselves and, our 50% of the challenge and all of that. But to give some background, first tell us a little bit about yourself.
Okay, so I live in Colorado. I grew up in South Dakota and moved here in 2008. Grew up and I love Colorado. I have 3 kids. They are ages 24, 21, and 17. And yeah, what do I do? I'm real estate. I have real estate investments. I also have a podcast. Can I say it?
Oh, absolutely.
I also have a podcast called Show the Fuck Up. That's all about like building self-awareness to live your best life. And yeah, that's kind of the quick.
Woohoo. Okay, Jules, how long were you married?
I was married for 19 years. We were together for 24 years.
Okay. And it definitely had destructiveness and some very interesting, challenging things. Can you share a little bit about that?
Yeah, I would say what I felt like in my marriage was that there was really never an emotional connection. And he was like my first real relationship. So I think I just felt like that was just the way it was. And I grew up also very religious, if I may say. And so to me, I was just like, you get married, you're married. This is what happens. You just push yourself through and you make things work out. And I also feel like one of the things, the dynamics I brought into it was I had a dad that was like very volatile, not like physically to me, but I like watched him be rageful. And so it made me become like, don't rock the boat. So I took my childhood stuff into my marriage, which was fully my part. And I never fought, never wanted to fight, never wanted to argue, never wanted to speak my wants, needs. I don't even know if I knew them because I was so focused on everyone else. So I feel like I put everyone else before me. I thought they were more important. Their needs were more important. My self-esteem was about zero. I had no self-esteem. So I felt just lucky to be with him. Like, oh, lucky me. Like he wants me. I'm chosen. It's funny now, but it's really not funny at the time. I mean, to look back on now, I just have to kind of laugh, but it was like a very sad place to be for so many years. Yeah. So I think the dynamic I brought into it was that. And then it was kind of more like kind of felt like I was more like a mother, kind of taking care of. By the end, I felt like it was like me and with 4 kids instead of like a relationship, a partnership where we're working together to make things happen.
There's also the financial challenges as far as what he chose to do and the porn. So I think bringing that in gives a clearer perspective of what you were dealing with.
Yeah, I think, yeah. So he just quit working and decided I'm not going to work and was kind of like trying or talking about getting a job, but that happened for quite a while. And then I think I think I could feel like something was going on, but nothing like had well, he wasn't working. So that was a big thing that wasn't okay for me. And I could just feel like something was really wrong, but I was trying to blame it on myself. I was like, what's wrong with me? What happened to me? Like, what's going on? And then found out after I had asked him to leave, found out that he was into porn. Like, I feel like it kind of just made him really, really check out, even though we didn't really have a deep emotional connection anyway. But whenever that happened, it just was like kind of like he was gone.
Yeah.
Emotionally.
And just to give context, how many years did he decide not to have a job?
I don't even know. I feel like, I mean, it was the last few years he really wasn't working much at all. And then before that, it was just kind of like not being driven to like advance in anything, just kind of like go to work and come home, go to work and come home.
So how did the situation affect you mentally, physically, and then buffering or anything like that?
Well, I feel like for so long I felt, because of my low self-esteem, I feel like I was always trying to like give and do, and what can I do to be worthy? What can I do to make him love me? What can I do to be accepted? I think all of those things are kind of what I was driven by for so long, at the expense of totally abandoning myself, like completely abandoning my wants and needs and desires and whatever I wanted. So keeping the focus. Well, and honestly, I feel like one of the things I did that is completely on me is like I kind of made him my God in a way. That sounds super extreme, but I feel like since then, like God's given me this view of like, I'm first, like I'm first. And so I feel like that's been something I've really um become aware of after the fact, that that was like a choice I made that I need to change in my life moving forward.
Yeah, I completely did that too. Just elevated and training in the past and roles and all of those things. I really did elevate him above God.
I
So that
hate
was
to even admit that. It's just like, ugh, that's terrible. But it was what it was.
yep. So so what did you learn from the situation? Like what have you learned?
What have I learned from the situation? Oh my goodness.
Yeah,
Life
so
full of
much.
lessons. I learned that the way I related in my marriage with him was kind of like the way I related with my dad. So it was already set up to be like a very dysfunctional relationship because I didn't know how to fight. I was afraid to speak up and say what I wanted, say what I needed, put myself not even first, but even on any one of the burners to matter at all. Um, I think I learned that like my self-esteem is my responsibility, like getting myself to where I want to be. I think that's why I've been divorced 7 years, and I feel like I've spent 7 years working on myself. Like, how do I heal my heart, and how do I build myself up, and how do I learn to be in relationship and speak my wants, needs, and desires, and not be worried about rocking the boat, because I'm learning how to fight. You know, like there really is something to being able, whether we call it fighting or discussing or whatever it is, like that is so important in a relationship. What else have I learned? I've learned, give me a second. There's like books of stuff I've learned. So I
What
should.
was one of the things, Jules, because you've done so much work to just be at this healthier state and understand how your childhood played into it and really just do a lot of healing for yourself? What are some of the ways you did that?
What are some of the ways? Well, I think one big thing for me was journaling. So like actually journaling and allowing myself to like write down, what are my dreams? What are my hopes? What are my wants? What are my desires? And how, like allowing myself to put those things out there for me. And like, and it's like been the beginning of creating this life that I don't think I thought I could ever have. And also, let me think a second. I've done a lot of coaching, like therapy coaching with, I mean, been coached and had therapy. And I think the biggest thing that has helped me has been calling out like my faulty beliefs, like the old beliefs I had about life, about myself, about relationships, about marriage, about religion, about um, roles in relationships, like all of those things. I had all of these old beliefs that I was just so tied to, that I feel like it's just been like one by one by one by one, taking those beliefs and asking myself, is this working for me now or not? Things that I felt so deeply, like this is truth. This is truth. I'm like, is it, but is it really truth? That's what coaching has taught me. Is it really truth, or is it just this thought I have in my head? and then kind of calling those things out and then working on replacing those with like, but what do I want now? What do I want to believe in this situation now? And I remember when I first heard that in coaching, when they said our thoughts, like our thoughts aren't always the truth.
Mm-hmm.
I think I believe, like, yes, they are. Like, what are you talking about? Whatever these beliefs I have, like, these are true. Well, they're not. They're things we've learned and we've picked up through our like generational things, through our parents, through religion. And so I think calling all of those things out and changing them over to truths for me. So I think this whole journey has been like a journey of truth, like coming back to my truth. And what is, I guess a big part of it too is like, who does God say I am? And who do I believe I am? And just changing all of those things into the truth. I really believed those old ones were truth, but they weren't. So just coming back to myself, coming back home to myself, I think putting God back in that first spot in my life, and then living from that place for me has been like becoming like my authentic self, like who I was created to be. And I look back at who I was and I'm just so sad. Like I feel sad for the girl that I was. And I'm also grateful, I guess, for all of the lessons that I learned from what that younger me had to go through to get
Uh,
here.
I think that's so beautiful, Jules. And I'll tell you, like journaling and unraveling our thinking and our beliefs, I think is so key too. That's why I did that Unravel notebook, is because that was really the key for me too. And really looking at my beliefs and the things that I just absorbed rather than thinking through, okay, is this really true? Is this helpful? Is this really going to serve like what my outcome, a healthy outcome, or really not? So, and still, finding also, again, having God first and really seeing how God views us as just unconditionally loving us as beautiful children, and all of those things that I had really lost sight of in trying to do the quote unquote godly thing. So pretty amazing.
I'm a pretty kind, easygoing person, helpful. I get along well with others. What? You're saying that makes me a target for selfish and narcissistic people? That's terrible. I don't want relationships like that. If you would like to see how large your kind girl bullseye is, take the quiz below.
How are you living brighter? I know you've learned so much, you've done so much. There's a couple exciting things going on in your life with a dream that is making this dream happen, and then also in a way that you give and try to help others. So go ahead and talk about those two things.
So I would say the dream that is happening is I'm purchasing a vacation rental property in Grand Lake, Colorado, which I've had this dream for years and years to have a place that I can do retreats. And also Grand Lake is just a place that's so special in my heart because when my kids were younger, we used to go up there a lot in the summers on the weekends. And this opportunity came up. And the interesting thing though, I want to share too, is that I feel like it was just like the vision I had of this was that God was holding this crown in front of me and he was like, this is for you if you can receive it. And I was like, oh my God, I'm so scared. I can't. For weeks, I was too scared. And he was like, when you're ready, you can receive it. This is my gift for you. Just like, I feel like it was like, submit yourself to God and he will give you the desires of your heart. I feel like it was that kind of a thing. And the interesting thing is, it's always been easy for me to give, but to receive has been like the big struggle. So I feel like, and what it was for me really was getting more of those beliefs. Like, who do you think you are? You can't do this. You can't make this happen. So it was like overcoming more of those beliefs and the fears. So I finally was able to say, okay, I'm going to take this crown. And now I feel like I don't even really have that many words because it's happening as we speak. Like next week I close on it and I know it's just the beginning of like this whole new chapter. One time before my divorce started, but when things weren't the best, God gave me these words, your life is going to go from black and white to color. And way back then, I remember thinking, what does that mean? What does that mean? And I can truly say it is like beyond what I could have ever dreamed or imagined for it to be. And then I feel like what my giving back is, so I started the podcast really just to share the things that I've learned with coaching and how that completely changed my life, completely changed my life. And I feel like fortunate that I was able to have coaches and I was able to invest in myself and have therapists and learn all these things. And I just feel so blessed that I just wanted to like share the information that I had that helped me change my life. So I feel like I'm doing that with the podcast. And then I really believe that this vacation property is going to be a place where I'm going to be able to have retreats and like VIP days with coaching. And I just think it's just going to open up this whole new way of reaching people and touching people and being able to help other people change their lives. Because I feel like that's my purpose. I feel like that's my purpose in life, is to help other people to have the kind of transformation that I've had. Because I feel so much gratitude and so blessed at where I am right now.
Oh, that's beautiful. And what's the name again? Say the name of your podcast.
It's Show the Fuck Up
With Jules,
Show the
which
Fuck
is
Up with
great
Jules.
because a lot of people, like, they see the F word or they see fuck and they're like, oh my goodness, that cannot be a Christian thing. And I love that you've been authentic to yourself and use that in it. Can you explain why? I mean, tell us a little bit about that.
Well, I feel like my big struggle has been like, my deepest desire is to be known, seen, and heard. And I think it's all of ours. But my biggest fear is to be known, seen, and heard. So, and it's constant. It's constant for me with the podcast, with the house, with like everything that's happening, even still in my daily life. I've had the podcast. It'll be a year on Valentine's Day of 2024. And I've had it going, but I still have like everyday challenges of showing the fuck up. And to me, what it is to live authentically as your true self that you were created to be, not with all of the role. Like when someone says, who are you? We say, I'm a mother, I'm a realtor, I'm a whatever, but it's like, that's not really who we are. And I don't even have the words yet, if I'm being honest, but I feel like I would love for all of us to be able to have like all of these words for who we are besides the roles we play in life. So it's like staying authentic to yourself. To me, showing the fuck up is staying authentic to ourselves, not people pleasing, not worrying about what everyone else wants and needs, but being able to be true to ourselves and show up from our deepest truth. And really, I feel like that's the way we live our purpose in life.
Absolutely. I love it. So everyone, there'll be a link to Jules' podcast below and you'll enjoy it as much as I have. And thank you so much for being here, Jules, and sharing your story and talking with all of us.
Thank you for having me here. Thank you.